Hello and welcome. It's a good day to be on the farm. This is Edgewater episode 2, where I am starting a new farm here in Saskatchewan. And we have just purchased 2 fields and are probably going to get a third field this episode. But we also bought this little farmyard here, which let me disconnect and pull out here. We're going to leave the tipper in there for just a minute with a couple of sheds and these 3 silos that don't have the automated pad that you use for silos in this game normally. So I did a little bit of testing offline, or not in this save anyway. And in order to make those work, we need to have an auger um, or conveyor system, but I'm going to use an auger because I believe it should work. So although we do have our harvester set up and ready to go here, I'm actually going to get the auger um, purchased and brought over to the yard before we begin the harvesting here on field 19. There's our New Holland harvester, and here we are in our blue New Holland tractor, running back to the shop to go ahead and get that auger. In fact, I'm on a pretty straight road now that I have not ran into my harvester. So let's just see if we can buy this before we get to the end of the road. So here in belt systems, there's 2 to choose from. I'm pretty sure this one, although it's shorter, should work for those short silos. So we're going to go ahead and just buy that. Well, look at that. Made it before I ran into the road. Excellent. And then over here on the right is this bean field. It is full of weeds, but it is a new crop. So I kind of want to try it out. So I think we might buy this because it's off the same main road that our farm is. In the original lot that I was looking at, that would have been much too far from our yard to cart back to. In fact, it still might be, but it is. Oh, hey, I had the right of way, dude. You just ran that stop sign. Um, since we are off of that gravel road now, 13's kind of in reach, so I'm kind of a little bit excited about maybe trying beans, and then we'd be doing flax and beans. Then we can maybe plant lentils, and then we will have tried all 3 of the new crops available in this map. So I'm always willing to try new things and go from there. So let's see what happens. But like I said, I think I'm probably going to buy that bean field if we decide that we just do not have enough time today to harvest all 3 of those fields. Today being the in-game day, not this episode, because I think we're going to probably be harvesting for multiple episodes, just due to the fact that we're pretty early in. We've got 3 fields to do, and we did not buy the biggest harvester in the world, but I think that's okay. It might just take a little bit longer to get these done, but anyway, we've got this auger picked up. We're going to bring it back to our yard, and I'll get it set up on one of those silos, and then we should be able to tip right into the auger that would go into the silo, and then later on when we need to sell, we just turn the auger around and use it from the pipe at the bottom of the silo to load into the tipper. So again, I got it to work in a different save, so it should work in this one, but we won't really know until the middle of the harvest here. But I did not want to have to stop harvesting and drive all the way over to the shop just to pick this up. I'd rather have this set up and ready to go, so we can just bring the tipper over and tip directly into where we're at. And this is our little farmhouse we bought. Again, there's no save, or no save is not the right word, no checkpoint for resting and sleeping through the night available on it that I saw, but I believe there's something we can buy to make that happen as well. Oops, a little bit too far back. So we're going to go ahead and disconnect this. And so this is, interestingly enough, you can actually jump in this and start it just like a tractor. And then I believe it's R. Yeah, so we're going to have to do this and raise it up. And we have to go pretty much all the way up. And then we're going to try to get this lined up accordingly. And it takes a little bit of finagling to find the right angle. And I need a little more height. And like so. So then in theory, that looks to be right over the top. So I'm just going to turn that off for now, and when we come tip, we will mess with it. And in the other one, it took me a second to get it to work because I had to like turn it on, then turn it off, and then stop loading, and that's when it loaded. So I might have to play with those settings just a little bit in the interim, but we will see what happens. So we're going to go ahead and get this hooked up, and we'll just kind of pull it halfway out here. And then we'll shut this down, and we'll go over here to the New Holland. So looking at this field, let me get to my menu. Where are we? Oh, we're done here. So there's a little inlet here and a little inlet there. So I think I'm going to start by just looping around and clearing some edges so that I can tip. But then we'll get down here and maybe turn around and come back up. Or maybe I should go this way, come down and cut that inlet off. Yeah, I think I'm going to go to the left first, do that, because then that can get us to down here where the tipper might be to unload our first load. So we will see. And so we did unfold this last time, so let's get that started up and lowered and going. And I do too have access. You just don't realize it yet. So we're going to get this going here. Line that up to be about 90 degrees. 89.87 will work. And again, this is not fertilized great, but luckily no weeds in this field. The flax, so it's filling up awful slow. We're only at 2% right now, which is fine. But well, obviously once we prep the field a little bit better this time around, hopefully we'll get a better yield next harvest for whatever we decide to plant here. And again, that's an over a 90-degree turn here. So we will see, we've got light pole there, how well we can kind of maneuver this around. And we're just trying to get this edged out so we have a path that we can cut through with the tipper. And also try to find our way here. Tempted to just go straight across there, but I might as well do this while I'm here. And I don't know if farmers actually do this just like this, or if they would just cut sections of the field off at a time and then just go back and forth until they got through them. But I don't know how you would turn this thing around if you didn't edge out a path around the outside. I just don't know if harvesters turn that well in the field. They probably do. But I have seen lots of farm sim YouTubers and streamers edge out the outside like this in the beginning to give them an opportunity to get that cart in there to tip, and also just to have a little bit of room to turn around. So I think this is, with these abnormally shaped fields, this is by far the best way that I can see to get this set up. Backing up a little bit there, and then coming back around here. Missing a little bit on the edge, but that's all right. And this thing was planted right up into the weeds, so I think that's what we'll try to do when we do it as well, but we might want to leave just a little bit of a headland or something just to kind of help us maneuver around this next time we plant. We'll have to see what we decide. Let's get around this corner and hopefully we'll straighten out a little bit so then I can check the map. I am pretty convinced I'm going to buy that bean field just so we can have some crops that we haven't had before on my channel, because I believe these are specific to this map, not to an update that happened. But we will see. But new crops are always fun just to try out and see. Their seasons might be just a little bit different. So let me get to here. So you can see the purple where we've plowed. We're still technically running, so let me just check my line here. Yeah, and this is the cutoff where the tipper could come. So I like that we have this available as an option. And since we're only up to 16%, we might only have to tip twice, 3 times maybe. I mean, it is still a big field. I'm very tempted to go straight north and south here, but I'm going to cut this edge because that's what we've been doing here, because I would get down to the end and I wouldn't be able to turn around, and that would not help us maneuver this. I don't want to run over any of the crop. Of course, I have crop destruction on. I will do my best to not destroy any more of the crop than we need to get it out of here. And then do we have a straight edge here? No, because yeah, this is only the halfway point. We own that part of the field down there too, once we get around this little inlet. And so that's where I was like thinking maybe once we get to the edge there, we can just cut a line across and cut it in half, or something. But we will see what happens. So since we're just taking the time to edge this here, I wanted to tell you guys a little bit of a story about what happened to our basement last summer, because that's the main reason that I stopped making content for YouTube in like August of last year, August or September, can't remember exactly, is we had some water damage in our basement. We live in a 2-story house with a finished basement, and that's actually where I record my videos, down here in the basement as well. And we had just a little bit of water that came in about 5 feet away from where our sump pump is. It was interesting because it did not come from the sump pit. It just came up from the ground, or in through the wall and soaked the carpet there. But it looked like it just kind of came up in the ground in the middle of our floor, and we obviously had carpet in the basement because it's finished, so we had wet carpet there, and it just kind of looked real nasty for a little while. And of course my wife noticed it and was asking kind of what was going on there, if I spilled something or if there was some other reason for it. And that was a high traffic area because I work from home, and over there behind the desk is where we used to have a built-in bar in the basement. Part of the remodel ended up taking that out as well. I had a desk that was butted up against the built-in bar where I had been working from home. I used to work in an office building, but we got sent home for COVID, and they eventually decided just to let us continue to work from home. This is a little long straight edge, and there's a little road down here too, which is nice. So let me... Sorry, I know I'm in the middle of a story here. This is, I'm gonna, 136,000, we're just gonna buy that. Before that accidentally harvests itself. I didn't want anyone to harvest that today. Before I get to it, because I think it's gonna be a while. Anyway, so we got some water damage over by where my desk was. So I was there every day working, because we were working from home now. And so I didn't know if it was dirty because it was a high traffic area, or dirty because it got wet and then just was moldy or mildewy or something. But it stayed there for like 3 or 4 weeks and wasn't drying up. It wasn't getting terrible, wasn't flooding our basement. And I'm a collector, of course. So I have comic books and video games and baseball cards and all sorts of things that I've collected over the years, and I, thin the herd as much as I possibly can, but I still have piles of things in the basement that my wife um, laughs at a little bit, which is totally fine. But it's just, I'm a collector and all my stuff is in the basement, so I didn't want any more water damage. I was afraid that the water would creep up and get to where I'm storing a lot of my stuff. And then my wife was very concerned about the mildew and mold and all of that as well. So we ended up having to remodel our whole basement between July, August, September, and then we didn't finish until after Thanksgiving. We were hoping to have the carpet back in by Thanksgiving, but of course it got delayed because everything is delayed right now, or at least was in 2022. And so we didn't actually get our carpet until like the first or second week of December. So point being, we had lots of construction in our basement. We had a company come in and jackhammer out the floor and install a drain tile. We replaced our one old sump pump with a new triple pump backup system. So there's 3 sump pumps in there now. A main one, a backup one, and then a battery powered one. So even if the power goes off, we will have water drained from our sump system, because apparently where our house is built is like in a bowl of water. There's a lot of clay in the soil here in Nebraska, and so our basement basically just sits in a puddle of water all day, and so that water creeps up through cracks that form in the foundation and in the floor on the concrete slab. Anyway, so that's what was happening. Water was seeping up through the floor, so it didn't actually overflow the sump, but the sump pump was actually broken, which added, and this may not be the right word, so I apologize, but hydrostatic pressure on the basement wall and floor and all that stuff, and that water came up and made a mess. So anyway, the remodel took a lot longer than we thought it was going to, because it was 3 weeks before we even got the sump pump replaced. Then they had to jackhammer out the floor, put in the drain tile, and then it took another additional 2 months to get the carpet back. In the meantime, we had to rebuild part of the stairs and the wall because they put in a vapor barrier or something. So anyway, all of these things are going on, and during that time it was very dirty and dusty in the basement. So I actually unplugged my PS5 and we moved the TV out of the area that it normally sits in, and I literally had no access to my PS5 for about 3 months. And I record all these videos on my PS5, so I wasn't really able to produce any more content. I could have brought it upstairs and messed with it there, but we had a lot of other things going on as well, and ultimately that's why I ended up taking the hiatus that I did in making these videos. But the basement is fixed now. It did get fixed right before the holidays, but of course then it was the holidays and we had travel and family and we have kids, and it just was not the right time. So I ended up taking January and most of February off as well. But now I'm back at it, making some more farm sim videos and hopefully branching out into some other games here in the near future. But anyway, I just wanted to kind of share with you guys what was going on really, and the reason why I wasn't able to make any videos for such a long time. And so luckily now our basement is fixed. I have moved my office back downstairs because I do work from home, and I kind of jokingly refer to this now as my executive suite, because I spend probably 12 to 14 hours in the basement every day, give or take. I come down here before work to do my quiet time with my Bible reading and stuff like that in the mornings, and then after that I work 8 hours. I take my lunch break down here, and sometimes fire up the PS5 or the Xbox or something like that on my lunch break, and then obviously I work full time as well, so 80 hours a week I'm just busy sitting on the computer down here. And then after work I go upstairs. Kids have spend time with the kids when they get off school, and get dinner ready or do the dishes or whatever. But then a lot of times late at night, I end up back down in the basement, recording a video. Like it's 10:30 at night right now as I'm recording this one. So yeah, I'm down here a lot. So anyway, I think this is funny. I call it my executive suite because this is where I spend a lot of my time. So I think I'm going to just cut this right here at 180. And then we'll kind of remove that section for that inlet over there. And then we'll just start this second lap like so until we get down to where we can tip real quick. And then I'll show you guys how that auger works. Because I want you guys to see that in this episode as well. Obviously, it's going to take me a while to get this whole field harvested here. And then now we have 2 other fields to harvest as well. So I don't know that I will record all of the harvesting. I can maybe do a time lapse of it in a later video, or I can just do it off camera and then check back in with you when I've got it done, because it's probably going to be, I don't know, 90 minutes of harvesting just for this field. Look at this thing. Where is it? Yeah, like we've just done 1 lap around the outside now. Probably took us 6 or 8 minutes. We're going 6 miles an hour in this New Holland harvester, which is fine. That's what we're supposed to be doing. Let's go ahead and get this pipe out. I know we're only at 70%, but I want to show you guys how that works. So we're going to go ahead and stop that here and then start this, since we're right here, rather than continuing to go and having to drive all over the place for it. Let's just grab a load while we're right next to it. This is a little bit narrow. I did biff it in the ditch once off camera driving over that, so now I'm a little bit more careful. I'm going to go ahead and get this loaded up. Grab a drink. Oops, sorry for that camera. And we're going to back up, which I don't normally do, but there's no good place for me to turn around, and I don't want to loop around the whole field. And then we're just going to be careful not to back into the crops here. And hopefully that's enough clearance. And that bird was flying awfully low. I don't know if you guys saw that on the right side of the camera. You can rewind it if you want. There was like a raven or a crow or something that was like diving, and then it just kind of froze there for a second. All right, so we're going to put it in this middle one. We've got 6,540 liters. All right, and then we're going to try to back this up slowly. Oh, straighten it out. So, sorry, lots of camera angles here. But I want to make sure we get this. There we go, that's a good one. I gotta center that. And we can start overloading the flax. And I don't know, can we? Yep, it's going in. So I got it set up right this time. So that's done loading from here, but it's still going to there. And now if we switch to our screen where we've got our storage, we have our 6,500. We lost 1 liter somewhere in that transition, but we got most of it. So we have dumped into the silo now. So our tipper is ready to go. I'm going to pull this back out. And then when we do it the other way, there's little nodules that come out the front. We just literally back that auger up, turn it around, put the low end right where that spout is, and put the high end out over our tipper. And we can fill the tipper back up that way. Whenever is a good time to sell flax. So I'm going to go ahead and park this here. And let me check my time. Yeah, we're coming up on it. So I think I will, did I turn that off? I did. So this harvester is still running. But we're doing pretty well on this. So harvest has started. We have bought our fields, so we own 39, 23, 27, and 53. Those numbers aren't right when we get out of the buying screen, but we've got flax here, wheat over here, and then the peas over here. So we will jump from flax over to peas and hopefully get to the wheat. I think we have, let me check my calendar. So wheat we can harvest in August and September. I should check. Flax is how you can harvest that year round. No. Flax is harvested literally September, October. Am I not supposed to be harvesting this right now? It says ready to harvest. Weeds small, needs lime. Ready to harvest. Um, hmm. Let's just make sure we've got seasonal growth on. Yeah, seasonal growth on. It says ready to harvest, not spoiled. I think maybe just the first time around, they have it set up so that you can harvest everything. Because yeah, when you look at this map, all that orange is ready to harvest. So it was ready to harvest when we bought it. So let's go back to our crop map. So flax typically would harvest in September, October. So we would have had to harvest the wheat before the flax. Peas would harvest right now as well. So we're doing the one thing that we can't harvest um, in October, or that we can't, the one thing that we can't harvest late, we're harvesting first. I don't think I said that right. You know what I mean. We should have harvested the peas and or the wheat first, but we started with the flax because I wanted to try out the new crop. So then we'll figure out what we plant. It looks like we plant both of those in April and flax in May. So I'm hoping to do lentils next month as well, or next year as we plant, and then we'll get this wheat out of here as well. Looks like we can also plant winter wheat here in September. So maybe we'll jump over to the wheat field first. But regardless, thank you guys so much for watching. I appreciate it. I hope you found this episode enjoyable and you learned how to use an auger. And we're getting the harvest started. I think it will probably be several episodes of harvesting between this and the peas and the wheat before we can start working the fields. Currently we only have one tractor and we're down to $150,000. So we can't buy a second tractor. We need this one to cart, so we can't really even start working the fields until the harvest is done. So we'll see what happens, but I appreciate you guys watching. If you liked it, give it a thumbs up. Also drop a comment. I'd love to hear from you guys. And if you haven't subscribed, please do. And I will see you guys in the next one. Take care. Have a good night.